have suddenly become quite chaotic and fragile outside. You have well over 1,000 protesters outside the convention center, and just a short time ago, you had a crowd that basically got through some barricades, got to the front door of the convention center, and they tried to get inside. They were met by police in riot gear who kept them at bay. But it is a fragile situation out here. You can see the police behind me. You can see this crowd of protesters. This is the barricade they got over, and right now they're just shouting and yelling. They're yelling at police. You can see this group of police trying to keep things under control. You can see the police on horseback, just a very spirited scene out here with protesters holding signs, yelling at some of the supporters who have gone inside. And we're just waiting to see what happens. Hopefully things can remain peaceful. We haven't seen anybody hurt, but it is quite fragile, Wolf.
And tonight, Trump's rally in Albuquerque, New Mexico was marred by protesters, and at that rally, Trump ratcheted up his attacks on Clinton.
Hillary cannot even put away Bernie. She can't put him away. Crooked Hillary, she can't put him away, and it's going to be a mess. Hillary Clinton will be so bad for our economy, so bad for jobs. She is going to be so bad for the Second Amendment. We are going to save our Second Amendment. She wants to abolish your Second Amendment, believe me. She wants to take your guns away, and she wants to abolish your Second Amendment. I don't know for a fact that Hillary's going to be allowed to run. She's got a thing called an FBI investigation. One of the big things we have going, and we have to do it, Supreme Court justices. If you let Hillary Clinton get in there and appoint the kind of people that she appoints, honestly, your country will never recover.
Well, NBC's Hallie Jackson is covering the Trump campaign. She joined us from Albuquerque. Hallie, you know, the one thing about Trump, like him or not, and a lot of people don't like him, he has this up to the minute, up to the second knowledge of what's being said on the airways, what's being said on cable. The guy responded not just in the news cycle, almost instantly to what looked to be an opening the Clintons were jumping into, which is that he had said, you know, it's a pretty smart move to make money when the housing market pops and the balloon pops. And instead, he comes out tonight and says, you know, who wouldn't buy housing when it's cheap? And he was right on top of this thing. Your thoughts?
And he says, hey, doesn't that make sense? I'm a businessman. we're going to get to that, Chris, but I want to give you a sense of where we are. So this is where the Trump rally was, inside these doors here in Albuquerque. But I want to show you this here. There were protests happening outside. This is common to see at Trump events. As people were trying to come out, cops continued to sort of barricade this area. Security blocked it off. And you can see one of the glass doors here was broken by some of these protesters. Apparently, we believe cops began sort of barricading that window in order to kind of keep anything from coming in or out. We've had crews outside who said there were rocks being thrown, that it got pushed back, at least from the line. So obviously, another very active Trump rally here in Albuquerque. When you talk about the news from Donald Trump tonight, you're right, Chris. He went after those Clinton comments almost immediately. He said, hey, you know, I'm a businessman. What else would I do? He said he felt badly for the people impacted by the crash, by the housing market crash, but that he was just essentially doing his job. He talked about Clinton. He said, you know, he hates to say it, but she screams. He hit her on her tone yet again. And then there was another interesting and notable attack, this one on Governor Susana Martinez, obviously the governor here in New Mexico, the head of the Republican Governors Association. Trump, citing some negative statistics about the economy, about the state here in New Mexico, said, hey, maybe I should run for governor of New Mexico, and implored Martinez essentially to try to do a better job. When you talk about party unity, Chris, that is significant. Martinez holds that position as head of the RGA, and here comes Trump. Essentially, we're going to kind of head over here and see what's going on. Here comes Trump talking about her in a way that is not conducive necessarily to unity. Of course, Martinez has come out sharply against some of Trump's proposed policies as well. And then finally, the other bit of news, as we've been following, are the protests and the continued protests here at the Trump rally. There's a police officer filling in some members of the media as to what's going on. So we'll go find out and we'll report back.
Well, what are the protesters? Who are they? Give me a sense of who they are and what's their protest.
So what we've seen in the past at these Trump rallies are dreamers, for example, members of the Latino community. What I can tell you tonight is we saw folks being escorted out, even from the rally inside, with signs that said undocumented and unafraid. The interruptions, again, happen quite frequently at these Trump events. What made tonight notable, obviously, is some of the heightened security that we've seen. But again, that is something that has occurred at these rallies in the past.
Well, they're waving the Mexican flag. Does anybody understand what the message is supposed to be when somebody does that at a rally here in this country? It seems to me that it will simply agitate against the people who have come here from Mexico illegally, perhaps, and that this is sort of helpful to Trump's argument. I mean, if they're waving American flags, it would be one thing. What do you? Well, I guess that's just an editorial comment by myself, but it is one that I wonder about.
Well, and I would say, too, Chris, I mean, you look at the people who are at these Trump rallies, the people who are coming here to support Donald Trump, and they are supporters of him, so they are not going to be necessarily swayed by some of these protests that you're seeing. As Trump himself has said from the podium, he says, you know, hey, either get him out or let him stay. He says if you can't hear him, don't worry about him. So, again, he's used to dealing with these kinds of interruptions.
Hallie Jackson, so much for that reporting. We now have enough votes in that we